I'll be there in a sec. Neil, you ready yet?
Almost.
Anthony, how are you? Oh my God, it's been ages. Neil, come see who's here. We found your long-lost brother.
Hey, how's it going, little brother? Long time no see. What are you up to these days?
It's been a constant rat race at the university, but I'm enjoying it. My life is full of teaching, research, writing, all that.
And what kind of useless research are you doing these days?
Well, it's a study on the traits of extraordinary men and women who have changed history. You know, this is the 150th birth anniversary of one of my case studies.
And who might that be?
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, better known as Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah, Carleton University has invited me to come and give a talk on Gandhi and his thoughts, and that's why I'm here in town.
You know, Bob and Baku were big fans of the Mahatma. Good to know, little brother, you're carrying on the family legacy. I have to admit, though, I haven't done quite as good a job with our kids.
Well, hang on a second, Neil. Let me get the kids. They'll be thrilled to see their uncle. And you know what? I would love for them to know more about Gandhi. My and Baba never missed a chance to talk about their time in India during the freedom movement. So let me get the kids. Come on, kids. See who's here. Your Uncle Anthony's visiting.
Uncle Anthony!
My goodness, how much you guys have grown. Haley, you look like you're ready for the working world. What are you up to?
I'm just in grade 10, but I love social sciences.
Well, thank you for following in your uncle's footsteps. You know, and thank you for not automatically wanting to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. David, you are turning into a young man. How's school treating you?
All's good, Uncle. But David gets all the attention around here, even though he spends every waking hour playing Fortnite.
Anthony, you were telling us about your work on Gandhi. Why don't you tell us some more? And I'll try to stay awake.
Uncle, who is Gandhi? Nana and Nani keep mentioning that name.
Well, Gandhi was one of the great men of the 20th century. His claim to fame was liberating India from the British without firing a single shot, and showing the world a new way to fight oppression and injustice. And he was born 150 years ago in a small town of Porbandar in the state of Gujarat, India.
So, I guess he was a really good student and really popular?
No, actually. He was a shy young man and by no means an extraordinary student. When his father died, his family chose to send him to law school in London so he could come back and get a good government job in India. So, in 1888, he set sail for London. He was only 19, but he was already married and had a young son.
What was his time like in London?
In London, Gandhi blossomed. It was a time of great spiritual and intellectual growth for him. And after 3 years, he passed the bar exam and became an attorney.
But if Gandhi was only a student while he was over there, where did his commitment to nonviolence come from?
Gandhi was a voracious reader. He read about Hinduism and Buddhism, Christianity and Islam. What left a deep spiritual mark in him was his readings of the New Testament, and above all, key scriptures like the Gita.
But if Gandhi left his wife and son back in India, how committed was he to women's emancipation and equality in society?
Well, his respect for women was inspired by his mother, Lubai. She was a devout woman, kind, compassionate, and then later, during the freedom movement, one of Gandhi's most trusted lieutenants was a brilliant woman named Sarojini Naidu. Then, and 3 years later, he returned to India in 1891. But he wasn't finding much success as an attorney. An opportunity to practice law in South Africa came up, and he spent the next 20 years there.
Anthony, I got a copy of your book, Gandhi and Satyagrah, but I'm a little embarrassed to say I haven't had a chance to read it yet. Is there an audiobook version? Or maybe you can just save me some time and tell me what Satyagrah is.
The literal meaning of Satyagraha is truth force. It's the term that Gandhi coined when he was in South Africa.
Like the Force in Star Wars. Gandhi was a Jedi! Woohoo!
David, I don't think there were any lightsabers involved. What made him come up with that word, Anthony?
Well, in South Africa, Gandhi saw and he experienced firsthand the racism of the minority whites. In fact, he was thrown off of a first-class rail car soon after he arrived. But then Gandhi knew that the Indian immigrants faced racial abuse, not just from the minority whites, but from the government as well. And this was a trigger for Gandhi. He decided to face the injustice head-on and secure rights for the Indian community, using an approach that he would develop over his whole life, Satyagraha.
What were the highlights of his work in India?
What do you feel like doing those?
I would just have punched those white South Africans.
David, Anthony, how about you tell us about the true meaning of Satyagraha?
Well, because truth is the very substance of soul, Satyagraha is a force that comes from the soul. Satyagraha is not about overcoming an opponent through violence or intimidation. No. According to Gandhi, you could overcome an opponent by taking on suffering yourself and piercing the heart of your opponent. Satyagrahis, as they're called, must operate on a high moral plane. They have to have strength of character, fortitude, courage.
And that's a tall order. Satyagrahis are like warriors, but they do not attack their opponents. And Gandhi developed all this during his time in South Africa. Anthony, tell us a little bit more about his return to India and what he found there.
Well, his time in South Africa was transformative. From a mild, meek, and average lawyer, Gandhi changed into a successful leader, a man devoted to nonviolence, possessed of courage and optimism in the face of overwhelming odds.
What were the highlights of it?
He became Super Gandhi.
Yes, Super Gandhi, but a non-violent superhero. By the time Gandhi returned to India in 1915, his transformation was complete. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was now the Mahatma, or Great Soul.
What were the highlights of his work in India?
Well, for the first few months, he toured India to see the conditions there, especially among the rural, poor peasants. Much like South Africa, the British rulers blatantly discriminated against the Indians, treated them like an inferior race. So Gandhi set several goals for his work in India: to reform Indian society, which had its own serious problems, to instill within the Indian community a sense of empowerment and control over their own lives, and get the British out of India.
Again, a tall order. Now, how did he do all that?
Well, Gandhi started a series of non-violent campaigns.
You know, Ba and Bapu often talk about the Salt March as being a key event. Was that one of Gandhi's most important campaigns based on Satyagraha?
By all accounts, the Salt March was Gandhi's greatest triumph in politics. It showed how potent nonviolent resistance could be. It's worth spending some time to see just how much this galvanized the Indian population.
Mahadev, are the Satyagrahis here?
Yes, Bapu. They are all here. All 78 of them. They are Hindus, they are Muslims, they are Christians, and they are Sikhs. What are our plans?
It is dawn, and as planned, we will soon depart with all the Satyagrahis. Anyone is free to join us on the way. We are protesting the British policy of maintaining a monopoly on the production, sale, and taxation of salt. The law is a means of operation. It is inhuman, beastly, and satanic. We will march to the seashore near Dandi, a distance of 241 miles from here. covering the distance in about 3 weeks. We will demand that we, the citizens, be allowed to make our own salt. In Dandi, I shall pick up some salt on the beach and break the law of the land. This nation will follow my example everywhere.
Yes, Bapu.
Mahadev, is there anything worrying you?
No.
Do you think perhaps it is too small an act compared with our enormous struggle for freedom?
No, Bapu. On the contrary, I believe that this is meaningful for everyone, the villager as well as the intellectual.
Ah, I'm glad.
But there is something that worries me.
Yes,
Physical cowardice. I know that our truth force relies on moral bravery. But are you convinced that our Satyagrahis will have the physical courage as well?
I want it clearly understood with all those who take the long march with us that should there be a show of force by the British police, we will resist with a stronger show of peace. There will be no striking back. The heart changes when the mental resistance overcomes the physical one.
Yes, Bapu.
Oh, one more thing, Mahadev. I have written a letter to British Viceroy expressing our intention to take the long march. See that it is safely delivered, please. You smile, Mahadev. Why? You don't think it will change his heart?
No, Bapu.
Maybe I should give some thought to the political strategy of secrecy and surprise. You are again smiling, Mahadev.
I know you won't do that, Bapu.
Now we should get ready to start our march. Go fetch the Satyagrahis.
Bapu, you and our son Vinay Lal are going to go for the salt march. I worry about the son and the father. And I keep asking this question myself. When shall we meet again? And the answer is always jail, jail, jail.
Do not worry, I should be fine. Where is Manu? Manu? Manu?
Yes, Bapu. Is anything the matter? You look worried.
No, Manu. I am sad because it is time to say goodbyes as I leave for our march in the company of Satyagrahis.
Bapu, may I join you?
You may, but you better stay back and take care of Baba.
Bapu, you talk so much about emancipation of women, and yet I note you do not have one single woman in the 78 Satyagrahis you have assembled.
Manu, it is not that I consider women to be frail. In fact, by their nature, they are ideally suited non-violent Satyagrahis. It is just that because of their inherent kindness, compassion, and courage in the face of adversity. It is just that I do not want them to be at the front of this march. For that, will give the British an opportunity to say that we are using women by hiding behind them.
We are ready, Babu.
Satyagrahis, we are marching in the name of God.
The Satyagrah marchers left at dawn, singing their song of glory, filled with the sense of martyrdom and the common cause of the poor and almighty, trained as ashramites, well versed in the discipline of austerity and self-control. But there is a long journey ahead of them, mile after mile of scorching heat and dusty road, lost in the wide horizon of an uncertain future and all too distant dream. And yet, I see a resolve and determination.
It was nicer at the ashram.
I wish we would slow down. What is the rush? We will all be landing in jail anyways.
I wonder how he does it. 20 miles a day. In this heat? He is well over 60.
He is inspired. That's how he does it. What's become of your inspiration?
Evaporated.
Bapu, the headmen of the villages we passed through wish to see you.
Mahatma, we have heard of your salt march. We wish to join you.
You may join.
There will be so many of us, and more will join you as you march.
They all are welcome. The only condition is that it will have to be a peaceful march.
We agree.
Bapu, we are over 10,000 now. We are not alone. Soon there won't be enough jails to hold us. We are no longer alone.
We never were.
The British will be defeated.
But Mahadev, I do not want to defeat the British. I merely want them to see our point of view. And for the immediate future, revoke the salt tax.
As the Mahatma and his ashramites have passed through villages, the peasants strewed flowers on the marchers, blessing them, understanding their toil, joining them. They came from far and wide, Hindus and Muslims, men and women, till the 78 Satyagrahis swelled like a tidal wave into mighty thousands. The Satyagrahis reached their destination a day ahead of the planned schedule. Gandhi picked up some salt from the beach, breaking the law.
Halt! You are trespassing!
Gandhi was arrested. The Satyagrahis kept marching. The police beat them like ninepins. Not one Satyagrahi offered resistance. This infuriated the police further, and the brutality became worse. They beat even those who had fallen, and rows upon rows of Satyagrahis advanced. The police mowed them down with their lathis. The Satyagrahis fell, bleeding, broken limbs, sounds of thuds, beating, moaning, but there was no resistance. Not one hand was raised. History often speaks of heroes and villains, but this I have witnessed personally, and I see it over and over again. Man is best and man again if he learns to take the long, long march.
That was a really powerful story, Uncle. At the university I'm looking at, standing near the banks of the river, there's a life-size statue of Gandhi, walking with a lot of purpose, with a stick in his hands. That must be him during the salt march.
It's an iconic image. Gandhi's simple act of defiance, the making and selling of salt illegally, was highly symbolic, and it empowered millions of Indians to do the same. And it showed the world a new way to fight oppression, using the moral high ground. And it inspired other leaders to adopt Gandhi's methods.
Who were the other leaders inspired by Gandhi's nonviolent ways?
Well, Nelson Mandela, President Obama. Perhaps the most famous of Gandhi's followers was Martin Luther King Jr.
I didn't realize that Gandhi was one of Dr. King's heroes.
Dr. King's peaceful resistance was directed at the oppression of black people in the United States and the discrimination that they faced. The highlight of his protest was a huge demonstration, one of the largest in American history, that he organized right in front of the Lincoln Memorial.
I know that one. That's where he made his famous "I Have a Dream" speech.
That's right. Dr. King inspired the next generation of leaders to use nonviolence for social and political change. You know, I'd love to talk more, but I really have got to get to my lecture.
Thanks, Anthony. And I look forward to hearing how your lecture goes.
Well, I just hope that the adults are as attentive as your kids. Maybe they'll become Satyagrahis in their own small way.
Well, although David would go back to playing his video games again, I'm sure some of what you said sunk in, Anthony.
Mom, do you think there's a non-violent version of Assassin's Creed?
Probably not. David, now would you tell us what did you learn today from Uncle Anthony's story?
Well, I learned that there's some ways to defend yourself without hurting others.
I
If
hope.
that's all that you learned from today's story, I think that's not bad.
I hope you learned how you can use the truth force to overcome barriers and to rally different people around a good cause.
I did. May the truth force be with you.
Well, he's your son.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Thank you so very much. May the truth force be with us all, for sure. Round of applause, please. I'd like to call upon Erin McDonald to say a few words, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin McDonald. I'm the senior teacher at the Ottawa School of Theatre, and I directed this piece along with my colleague Kathy Langston. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the actors. They donated their time, they learned the lines, they came to rehearsals, and we just had a really, really lovely team to work on this, so please give them another round of applause. Now I'd like to invite one of our actors out on stage. Many of you know her. Lavina is well known as an activist in the community, and she's going to talk a little bit about her personal experience. Lavina? First and foremost, I'd like to thank Erin for her patience and all the hard work that she put in directing all of us volunteers. To be able to put up what you just witnessed today. And a very good afternoon to you all for making time for this and for sticking behind after the intermission. I'd also like to thank, actually the biggest thanks goes to the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council under the leadership of Vaishnav for continuing to put together this event year after year, so we get an opportunity to remember the great Mahatma and his contribution, his role, the immense role that he played in India's freedom movement. Today I stand in front of you to share a very personal story with you that Rashmiji encouraged me to share with you all. It is my personal connection with the freedom movement and with Mahatma Gandhi that goes back 3 generations. The story goes back to 1920s, and it is of my great-grandfather who was an affluent businessman in the northwestern city of Hapur in Uttar Pradesh, which is in the northern part of India, for those of you who do not know. He came in contact with Gandhiji and with the freedom movement as one of his very close friends introduced him at one of the political events that Gandhiji was doing in the region at the time. And he got influenced by the movement, by the ideology, by the leadership, by the person that Mahatma Gandhi was, to the extent that over the course of a few years, he gave up his business. He sold his share of the business. He joined the freedom movement, became an active contributor, and connected with the movement as a prominent financer, as well as an organizer, the organizer for the Western UP region, for all the political rallies and events that would take place in that region. Now, these were revolutionary times. And it was not easy for anyone to put their personal business stakes, business interests on stake to join the freedom movement. There was a lot of pressure while he did that, as you all can imagine, from the family, from the society, and a lot of fear-mongering from the administration as well. But he showed a lot of courage. He showed a lot of courage, and that courage came from inside him, but it was ignited by the extraordinary leadership. The political leadership, the strategic leadership, the social leadership that Gandhiji exhibited when he moved around, motivating and inspiring loads and loads of people, tens of thousands of people with him. It was very special. And that leadership came with the qualities of compassion, respect, patience, a very clear thinking, and honesty, above everything, honesty. And all of these qualities that we're talking about now, as well as the principle of non-violence to fight discrimination, it is as relevant today as it was back then. So without taking much of your time, I'm just going to finish this with a very simple wish and hope of mine. May we all get the courage. May we all inspire others and get inspired to lead our Satyagrahas in our times and in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavina, for that. And with that, we can actually say that MGPC, as Rashmi mentioned, the next generation leaders, does have an opportunity for you to bring Truth Force and Satyagrahi to life. But we cannot fail to mention and thank Erin McDonald and the Ottawa School of Theatre. So as a token of appreciation, Erin, we would like to give you this little not flower bouquet.
Thank you very much. I had a great time working on this event, and lots of really, really nice people that I met. I did leave some of our flyers for the Ottawa School of Theatre out on the table in the front there. We teach theatre to all ages, little kids right up to adults, and it's just a really wonderful thing that you can do for yourself.